This should be quite a spectacle.
Making his way to the ring from Uganda, weighing in at 350 pounds, Kamala.
There are a lot of issues that are at play in November, and the stakes are very high. And that includes the fact that, look, you can pull up a split screen. We're on TV. Just pull up a split screen. And on the one side, in President Biden and our administration, you see competence. You see a steady hand. You see someone who cares about the American people, and we have gone about solving problems.
And I don't want to, well, maybe choose my words. I was just thanking, anyway. But I just, look, I mean, Putin's kleptocracy, yeah. It was in January, after being elected. The late January, early February.
I have news this morning from NBC News that the campaign is looking to shorten its speeches. Biden's general election strategy is less is more. The president's aides are seeking to tighten his pitch to voters with shorter, crisper speeches. To be honest with you, Quentin, I think that's a very smart idea. I think
for everyone.
For everyone.
Welcome to Unsanctioned.
They're accused of abusing several children in Montgomery County, Maryland. Tonight, immigration officials tell us he was never supposed to be in the United States in the first place, and he had already been deported twice.
Palm Beach County deputies arrested 3 undocumented immigrants in Lake Worth Beach on sexual battery charges. According to the arrest affidavit, the 3 suspects, all from Guatemala, abducted a local woman along the street and threw her inside a truck. Authorities say the men drove off and stopped at a nearby intersection where they sexually assaulted her and filmed it.
The leader of a Colombian street gang, Los Antanas, has been arrested in Texas, where he was seeking asylum. Colombian authorities confirmed that he was one of the 7 most wanted murderers in Colombia's capital.
A woman accused in Mexico of several murders and body dismemberments, even removing victims' hearts, is arrested in El Paso. The FBI says Pineda was known for extreme brutality, dismembering bodies, removing hearts, and placing the hearts in front of Santa Muerte statue.
Now, if you're interested in learning more about hosting a migrant family, all you got to do is take out your phone, dial 211. It's as easy as that. You're going to be asked a few questions, things along the lines of how long are you able to host somebody? What kind of space are you available to provide? And Kettering says you can expect that phone call to last about 20 minutes. Reporting live in Denver, Nate Pelt, Fox 31.
Yes, John, we are truly living in bizarro world, as you can see right there. Denver asking their citizens to house illegal migrants. It's just unbelievable to me.
Well, they don't deserve to live peaceful lives that they've paid for with their hard-earned money. So, apparently they want you to make room. In fact, what they want you to do is to move out of your bedrooms, move into your garages, and allow the illegal aliens to come in and sleep in your beds. Yeah. This is I don't know what's going on, but that's not the only thing going crazy right now, right? It's like the entire world, like you said, is bizarro world.
Yeah, it's a bizarro world, and we've talked about just on the past show, we talked about a case where an illegal moved into somebody's house, squatted in that house, took over the house, and that person,
the owner, got arrested.
Yeah, the owner got arrested. It took a year for that owner to get their house back. So Denver, you go ahead and house those illegal migrants. See what happens. Enjoy that.
Well, this week's headlines, let's get through it. Kamala Harris says Biden competent, steady. Is that how you would describe Biden?
I don't know. We put up the split screen.
Yeah, she asked for a split screen. We gave it to you.
Didn't quite work out.
Biden staff shortened speeches to the best rambling parts. COVID vax defunct, but the media is silent. We're going to talk about that in a minute. What is the definition of betrayal? Bragg left with little to brag about after a spectacular fail. DOJ official, former Dem consultant, and Kamala. We're going to talk a lot about Kamala Harris, aren't we?
Yeah. She's on tour.
I like to pronounce her name Kamala Harris. I know they don't like that, but
I like Kamala.
Kamala Harris sells being broke. Stern, that old DJ, 99-year-old DJ, says raising a crackhead proves that you're a good dad. And Kamala Harris adopts mentally ill. Georgia has no idea what Fanny's doing with our money, while former Georgia Lieutenant Governor endorses senility. RINOs unite to keep elections obscure. Soldier aims to replace vulnerable Democrat in Nevada, and more on this episode of Unsanctioned America. On behalf of me, School Board Member John Arguello, my great friend Citizen Tom Lord, welcome to another episode of Unsanctioned America, episode 228, May 8th, 2024. Let's say a quick prayer and then we're going to get right down to the show. Lord, thank you so much for the opportunity to do this every week. You know, it's been a long time. We've been doing this show for more than a year now. That sounds crazy that we've been doing the show this long, but we are truly appreciative of the blessing that we're able to do this show and reach people and talk to people in spite of Facebook's best efforts. But we know that this country is someplace special. It's unlike any other place in the world, and we pray that you start raising men and women to be worthy of a country that you've inspired, to be worthy of your divine intervention, and that you start inspiring people again, once again, inspiring many people to rise up and take part in this country that you separated. In your son's name, Jesus Christ, amen.
Amen.
Let's get to the show. What do we got first, Tom?
Let's get into some news. All right, so the big news, John, and we were just talking about this a little while ago. It's unbelievable. Well, actually, it's very believable. It's unbelievable the media's reaction. We found this story, and it was very hard to find, John, but AstraZeneca is withdrawing the COVID vaccine worldwide after admitting it can cause rare blood clots.
Oh, I'm shocked. I don't understand. So you mean those people who were just dropping like flies, like there was... You think it has something to do with the vaccine that they had just taken prior to dropping?
It seems to be the case, John.
Oh,
they took that jab, and sure enough, AstraZeneca is withdrawing its COVID-19 vaccine worldwide months after the pharma giant admitted the drug could cause what they're saying very rare but life-threatening injuries.
Very rare. Do you think that it's more rare than you dying from COVID to begin with?
Yeah.
Well,
no,
I wonder.
I don't know. I don't know. It's hard to tell.
I don't. Yeah, I know, right? It's
we
hard to
we
tell.
don't have accurate figures, you know. I mean,
which is worse, COVID or COVID vaccine? You got to wonder.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be crazy if more people were dying from the vaccine than from actual COVID?
Yeah.
It's quite possible that that's the case.
But we'll never know. We'll never know.
I think that we will. It's just not until after the CIA has done, all the people in the CIA have died, and that's a whole new breed of people who wanted to no longer deceive the American people. I think that's what we're getting to, right? Because we know now that we've been lied to. We've been lied to in the sense that they lied about masks. That was a blatant, outright lie. They knew that was BS.
Common sense would tell you that.
But here's the end. I get it. For the first couple of weeks, you don't know what's going on. The doctors, all across the doctors, people who are paid to tell you the truth and take care of you, they tell, put a mask on. It'll help. No problem. Why? I don't think that nobody's trying to kill me or hurt me or lie to me, right?
Right.
You trust this is the United States of America. We're not like Sudan or some other country that they are trying to abuse their population. Oh, yeah, we are. Yeah, we are, because they lied to us about that. And I think the number one public enemy, Dr. Fauci, he just straight up lied to the American people about everything COVID, everything related to COVID.
Yeah.
And we had to deal with that. They shut down our country. It's hard to explain the reasoning. And if only they would stand up and say, you know what? Hey, everybody, we made a mistake, right? We made a mistake. We didn't realize that this was the case. We made a mistake, and we're very sorry. That would be great. And then we could all get back together again, right? Okay, but no, they're lying and lying and lying, and they're hoping that we all die before we find out the truth. No, Fauci needs to be in jail as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
And all of these pharmaceutical companies, if they knew that this was going to happen, which it appears that they did know, then they should be paying huge amounts of money to
massive
lawsuits to make all these people whole. And also the medical, right? The medical industry, the healthcare industry should be paying, to make people whole too, because from what we understand, from what I understand at this stage, there was a lot of people that died just because our unfamiliarity with the process of taking care of someone with COVID.
Yeah.
Right. So that forced ventilation and blowing people's lungs up and stuff like that. It was brutal.
Yeah.
And now we know in times of emergency, you can't even trust your government.
No, you can't. You really can't. And, AstraZeneca, of course, is saying that this is due the withdrawal is due to a surplus of available updated vaccines.
Yeah, I wonder why nobody wants
new
it,
variants. But they did admit that it does cause blood clots, and
Go figure.
Yeah.
Go figure.
Low blood platelet counts. So. Yeah, it's unbelievable, and the amount of people that actually
there's still
took this
people
shot.
telling you to take it and give it to your kids.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just the people who are paid by pharmaceutical companies.
So-called health professionals.
I don't even know. I mean, I think Gavin Newsom is still proposing that you take it and that you give it to your kids. You got to wonder.
Yeah, you got to wonder. So another big news story that came out, John, was this CIA official caught admitting Mike
Weren't
Pompeo
we just talking about the CIA
and
lying?
staff withheld info
Weren't
from
we just
Trump.
talking about this?
Yeah.
Yeah, Mike Pompeo and staff withheld information from Trump. This is what we're saying, right? Like a lot of people, there's a big debate going on. Well, Trump is, like he's fighting, saying that the vaccine was okay and so on. I think that the information that Trump had in his hands told him that vaccine was okay.
Yeah.
Right? And until something convinces me otherwise, I think that that's exactly what happened. They knew that if they told Trump the truth, Trump was going to tell us the truth. And so how can you tell him the truth? And this proves that they weren't telling the truth to Trump. And they weren't telling him the truth about a whole bunch of other things. Otherwise, Trump probably would have been firing. He would have been lopping off heads far earlier in that first term and getting rid of these people that he knew were against the American people.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's a big deal. But let's hear the story. What do you got?
It's these deep government, shadow government people lying to Trump. They didn't want him involved in any of this.
They didn't want him interfering with their plans.
Yeah. So this is the video. It came from James O'Keefe. Here it is.
We kept information from him.
Say one more time.
We kept information from him.
From Trump?
Yes. He's an idiot. And there are certain people that would give him a high level overview but never give it any details. You know why? His whole leak those details.
Amjad Fasisi states that higher-ups within the intel community, including CIA directors Mike Pompeo and Gina Haspel, and the upper levels of their staffs colluded to withhold information from sitting President Trump.
So the agencies kind of all got together and said, we're not going to tell Trump.
The higher-ups.
The higher-ups.
We put it this way, the executive staff. We're talking about the director and his subordinates.
What titles are they? They're
Director of the CIA.
Director of the CIA would keep...
Yes.
Mr. President, your reaction to this videotape of the CIA individual talking about how the CIA directors withheld information from you?
Well, it's shocking to see how stupid somebody can be.
Yep.
If this guy's for real, you ought to get rid of him. CIA, Central Intelligence Agency, this is not an intelligent guy. To be openly talking to a woman that walks up and starts asking him questions and talking that way. So he may be bragging or showing off to some young lady. I have no idea the conditions under which he spoke, but I'd get rid of him real fast. If he's for real, get rid of him.
Yeah, there you go. And that's the president.
I love the fact that he completely shifts that thing, right, to the responsibility of the CIA. He doesn't address the fact that they deceived him. He addresses the fact that that the CIA obviously has a problem. He's showing that they're not very good at their job right now.
Yeah.
Right? Because you have a guy who is he, Eric Swalwell? Right? This guy, Yum Yum comes up to you and is like, oh, me love you long time. And then, that's it. Come on, you give everything up. So this is bad news for the CIA. It just shows that they're not doing a great job. All these other countries are outperforming us in terms of their human intelligence. And I mean human, not intelligence gathering. I mean human intelligence, just common sense. It makes me believe that this is all intentional. This is not by accident that we're making these kind of unforced errors, as we say in the sports world, right? This is just straight up intentional. These are miscreants.
Yeah, for lack of a better term. it's like I said, deep state players, shadow government figures, telling lies, trying to make sure that Trump had an unsuccessful presidency. He did have a successful presidency, regardless of them.
Yep.
No matter what anyone says. And President Trump wasn't the one that shut down the country over COVID. It was the states. He left it up to the states. I want to put that out there again, remind people, because it seems that, others are saying something completely different, saying that President Trump shut down the country. He didn't do that. So
I don't even think that means that much, right? Here's the thing. A mysterious disease, right, apparently from eating bats, so the Chinese government is eating bats in a lab, and boom, all of a sudden, your bat soup mixes with the bat that's flying around in the biological warfare center, and the bat flying around poops in your soup, and all of a sudden you got COVID in Wuhan, and then that makes it all the way across. A whole bunch of people are dying because the Chinese were killing their own people.
Yeah.
Right? That's true. The Chinese were killing their own people. But the Chinese are willing, they've killed tens of millions of people. Are they willing to kill 1 million people in Wuhan to make the whole world think that everybody's going to die and ruin everybody's economy? I believe they are.
Yeah.
I believe that the Chinese government is capable, far capable, okay, of killing millions of their own people to deceive the whole world so that the whole world reacts in some kind of knee-jerk process, and then they destroy all their own economies, allowing the China to rise to the top. That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Right? And so when that's happening in China, but nobody in the United States is going to think, oh man, they're just slaughtering their own people wholesale. What's the difference between getting them all sick and killing them with the treatment than just shooting them with a rifle the way that they did just decades ago?
Yeah.
Nothing. Right? So now they scare the whole world. They send it to the United States. The United States does exactly what the Chinese doctors are doing to their own people, because that's what established protocol says, right?
Yeah.
And then the World Health Organization is, again, helping them. Who would think that they want to do this? Right? But they are obviously not very good actors involved in the process. Then they do it too. And then we go into a panic. We create all this trouble. We add trillions of dollars of debt. And before you know it, now we're on the verge of becoming, falling behind China. That's a strategic move. That's a warfare move right there.
Yeah.
And so the first 3 weeks or so, who cares what happened, because everybody's trying to do their best. We're trying to react, and Americans are going to be compliant, right? Even I wore a mask. My mask had an American flag on it, but even I wore a mask for like the first 3 weeks, right?
I think we all did, John,
everybody did, right?
We were all scared. We didn't know what was going on.
Well, even we wanted to make sure that we were part of the solution, right? Like here, Americans are in it. If something happens, tragic, something big happens, Americans get on board. Everybody starts digging together. Everybody starts working together, right? And so we did that. Everybody became compliant. But then we saw it was all BS. And when we saw it was all BS, now you split. You split the people who love this country. That's what it has evolved into, against the people who don't love this country, and the people who love Palestine versus the people who love the United States of America. That's what it's evolved into after these so many years, right? After several years. Yeah. So those first 3 months don't mean anything. I don't care if they shut down the government. Maybe I would have done the same thing. You're not going to find anybody more to the right than I am. But let's say, okay, fine. We have a disease. People are dying, right? Okay, everybody stay home let us get a handle on what's going on here. Okay, that's acceptable. Once you realize that it's not the case, what do? You give it back to the states, and that's what Trump did, right? And so, I think that's okay. And thank God we live in Florida.
Yeah.
Look at California, right? They were allowed to come out of their house only so that they could poop on the street, and then they had to go back inside.
Those first 3 months, John, I remember seeing government officials come on the television and talk about this, and talk about it in a very scary way. I was freaked out. I didn't know what was going on. I hear it comes from China. God only knows what they've done, what they did. I put on the mask, but, clearly after some time, and it was confusing messages. You had Fauci coming out saying 2 weeks, right? Then it turned into 2 months. Then the timeline just kept growing and growing and growing. And it was just like, you know what? I just don't believe this anymore.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, and you can't believe them. You can't believe them. They're full of it.
Yeah. Especially that little old man. He should be in jail.
Yeah.
So, according to legal analyst Greg Jarrett, Alvin Bragg's witness against Trump backfired spectacularly, and we're going to talk a little bit about this.
What a great story this is. This is a great story.
That is Hope Hicks, John, and amid this this hush money trial, supposed hush money trial, Alvin Bragg's witness against President Trump backfired spectacularly, according to Fox News legal analyst Greg Jarrett. On Friday, Hope Hicks, who served as a senior White House advisor during the Trump administration, took the stand to testify, which saw her crying at one point on her recollections regarding the accusations. Most notably, she discussed Trump's reaction when a story detailing his alleged affairs with Daniels and former Playboy model Karen McDougal broke. In an epic miscalculation that backfired spectacularly, prosecutors in the Manhattan hush money trial of Donald Trump called Hope Hicks to the witness stand. The moment cross-examination began, their misbegotten case against the former president began to collapse. And I agree with that. That's pretty much true. Jarrett explained Hicks' testimony in which she said Trump was concerned about his wife, former First Lady Melania Trump, and how she would react after details about this alleged affair with Daniels and McDougal would appear in the Wall Street Journal weeks prior to the 2016 election. And this demolishes Bragg's argument that the former president paid Daniels for her silence. The account by Hicks demolishes District Attorney Alvin Bragg's primary claim against Trump that he paid porn star Stormy Daniels for her silence with the intent to benefit his campaign and thereby influence the election by unlawful means. To the contrary, it nicely corroborates the findings of a federal investigation that no crimes were committed or campaign finance laws broken because there was another purpose for the non-disclosure agreement that Daniels signed. Now, there you go.
I mean, did we not know this already? Right? Like, we already know that this is BS. She signed 2 letters, right?
Yeah, 2 of them.
She signed 2 letters that stated that this affair never happened. And you don't see that in the media. And then he put it on his social media. Trump himself put it on social media. And then the judge told him to take it down. So this is, the proof that this didn't happen. She signed it. Why can't he just submit that as evidence and say, listen, here's her letter. It says right here. Yep. How can the jury say, well, did you lie when you did it? Right? But here's a letter signed by you. This is your name. You signed this to paper. It never happened. So what's the problem?
Yep.
I don't know. This seems like a big giant waste of time. I mean, we have to cover it because it's big news, but you know that the American people are not served well by the media when this is their chief concern, right? This is what they're doing. You don't want to talk about the old guy who's soiling his pants and has his hand on his finger on the button to nuclear war, but you're going to focus on some porn star who can't figure out whether she had sex with someone or not.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fake.
It's just like President Trump said, this is election interference.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Know this.
And that's the only intention.
Yeah, and it's to take the ball off of Biden and put it on Trump and try and make him look bad. It's ridiculous what's happening here, and it's allowed to continue.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, so one of these prosecutors, the ex-top Biden DOJ official that's prosecuting Trump was once paid by the DNC for political consulting. And this is Matthew Colangelo. His move from the DOJ to the New York Trump prosecution has drawn allegations of politicization. And here's a little bit about Matthew Colangelo.
He came on board late in this whole process. Matthew Colangelo, tell us why we should know about Colangelo's role in all of this.
Because he held the number 3 spot at DOJ, which is maybe the most coveted spot at the Department of Justice outside of Attorney General itself, because typically that job is a straight path to becoming a corporate bigwig, making a lot of money. It's considered very elite. So for him to step down from that, to go work for a local prosecutor in New York on this case, it says something. I think it says that he's got to be a pretty true believer, and this is personal, if he wants to get involved in this.
Now, we hear over and over that from the Trump side that this is all orchestrated from Washington, orchestrated from the White House. We know the DOJ didn't touch this case. They didn't take it up. But then this number 3 left the DOJ and went up here and is one of the lead attorneys on this. And you say it's surprising that he's so face forward. on all of this.
Yeah, I actually almost jumped back in my seat today when I was sitting there when I realized he was the one presenting opening arguments, and I thought, oh wow, they're not concerned at all about how this looks, which is not entirely surprising though, Martha, given how all this has gone. The judge in this case donated to Joe Biden in his campaign, and I said this recently, it's not the amount of money that he donated, which was small, but the fact that he did it at all.
What was it, like
because
$250,
he knew
right?
these cases were percolating in New York, and typically judges resist getting involved in anything political because they know it'll undercut their credibility, any decision that they issue.
No.
To me, this is the craziest thing ever. I mean, what says weaponization of the government like it's like a ringer, right?
Yeah.
Remember that movie Ringer with Johnny Knoxville?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's what this is, right? And believe me, these are all Special Olympic prosecutors, as our last story just said. These are not the best of the best. These guys are botching this story, and they don't care. All you have to do is have no morals in order to do this. You have to be able to be corrupt. That's the number one. That's the criteria right there. You have to be able you just don't have to have no moral compass, right? Use the government to attack your political foes. Are you willing to do that? Yes or no? If you say yes, welcome to the team. If you say no, sorry, this job isn't for you. And that's what this is. So this guy has no shame, like she just said. No shame at all.
No shame.
But I hope they go to jail.
Yeah,
they might
I
not
hope
have.
so too.
They might not have shame, but they might have shame when they get to jail after President Trump gets elected to office. Yeah. I know they hate to hear that, but they deserve it.
God willing. So the White House is looking to convince Americans of Bidenomics with a Kamala Harris tour.
Jeez, Lord, God, I almost said your name in vain, Lord. But, so in the headline, this is like Kamala Harris likes to sell broke. Being broke. I mean, this is what she's selling poverty. Yeah. How do you sell poverty, right? How is it that you can listen? I know that being poor sucks, but just think about all the time that you can waste while you're not going to work, since there's no jobs. I mean, what is it that you do? Hey, you get closer to your family because you're all sharing one egg in the morning for breakfast. How do you sell poverty? Bidenomics is the most communist it's like living. It's a testament to communism, right? It's like an homage to communism. We don't call it communism, but this is what it feels like to slowly become a communist country. You get broker and broker and broker until you have nothing, and then we all live in these little shanty towns. All the buildings look the same. You know, everybody's misery. You have whole families in a small apartment, small one-bedroom apartment. I mean, go watch do this. This is my recommendation to the American people. Go Google or YouTube an old Russian movie from the 70s or 80s, right? I'm totally serious about this.
Look at modern day Cuba.
Look at modern day Cuba. Oh, that's they're like walking around in loincloths in Cuba right now.
And not the places that they take you if you're a tourist. You know
but those will be your children. Those will be your children. Those won't be you. You guys are going to be like a 1980s prior to the dissolution of the Soviet Union, Russia. That's what the next stage is for the United States if we continue with Bidenomics. And so go Google, go YouTube an old Russian movie from the 80s, late 70s, and look how they live and look at the lifestyle. That's what Bidenomics is doing slowly. And you'll see. If you disagree with me, call me out, right? But otherwise, show me that that's not what we're heading towards. Show me how you cannot relate to those movies right now.
Yeah. And shame on Fox News once again for this headline.
Fox News sucks.
You look, it says, while the economy is booming on paper. I don't even know where it's booming on paper, but...
Give me a break. Fox has lost their way. We know that.
Yeah.
We know that.
Well, there she is. This is what's happening. The Biden administration is taking its economic message on the road, tasking Kamala Harris with an economic opportunity tour. It kicked off last week in Georgia with an event in Michigan next in line as the issue remains the most important to voters heading into the November election. The Biden campaign has to be very nervous about turnout problems among potential Democratic voters in Michigan and Georgia, said Ken Coleman, director of the University of Michigan Center for Political Studies. It's nothing new to quote James Carville's "It's the economy, stupid" line, but the economy really consistently does play a major role in determining presidential outcomes. And yeah, that's absolutely true. Absolutely true.
Man, James, talk about making your whole career off of one line, huh?
It's true.
And don't get me wrong, he was right.
Yeah.
But the sun, there's the old saying, the sun shines on a dog's butt, at least once in its lifetime. So, I mean, yeah, it's the economy stupid. Well, if it's the economy stupid, then the Democrats are really, really stupid. Because what they don't realize is that they've ruined their nation. And it has been 4 years is not long enough for everybody to forget how good it was under Trump. Even during COVID, we didn't feel desperately broke, right? Like we feel now. Everybody's tight right now. Even the richest people are like worried. It's not like boom days like before. People are worried. Grant Cardone recently mentioned that here's a correction. The correction is coming. The correction is coming. The correction is coming. The markets are going to hit. Look at all these indicators. These indicators are all indicators that have not happened since every recession, prior to every recession. We're looking at a recession coming up hardcore. Yeah. And he did that in 4 years. In 4 years, he sank a thriving economy. And you're going to try to sell Bidenomics? Yeah. Get out of here with that. Get out of here with that stuff.
Clinton can credit James Carville for that line, but not only that, because he did straighten out Clinton's second term. So did Republicans in the contract with America back then, but that was back when Democrats were more reasonable. They're not reasonable anymore. So,
no, it's not. It's like crazy. They're crazy.
Yeah.
They're absolutely crazy. Listen, here's the Democratic plan. Remember, I think it was in 2016, it was in 2014, I think. 2012, 2014, okay? The Democrat Party literally went to their national convention around that time, and they took the word God out of their national platform. They voted to do that at their national convention, okay? Since that time, let's see what their initiatives have been. Transgenderized kids, right? Pornography in schools, chemical castration for kids, right? Everything that involves kids is all about torture. Torture in other countries is healthcare here in the United States, right? In China, they forced women to have abortions. But for Democrats in the United States, that's healthcare, right? In China, they chemically castrate people in China, right? Forcibly chemically castrate people in China. Here, that's healthcare for children, right? They have genital mutilation in Africa. Just 10 years ago, the whole country, we were raising money to fight against genital mutilation in Africa. For Democrats, that's healthcare here, right? And mental health. That's mental health for Democrats here, is to genitally mutilate children, okay? Okay, so we wanted to get rid of obscenity everywhere where the world is sick and disgusting. Okay, we don't want that stuff, right? But where do you want that? That junk, that trash? In our schools. Right? You want that stuff in our schools. Social media. We already knew we don't want addiction, right? We've been fighting addiction for decades. For decades, we've been fighting addictions. So what are we going to do? We're going to addict the minds of our children to obscenity. I mean, it never ends. The Democrats don't understand that this is not only did you ruin the economy, everybody sees it, forget it, you lost that. Yeah. But now you're talking about, for the past 4 years, you've been fighting to attack our kids and our families. And now, after we just saw a horrific attack on the Jewish people in Israel, a horrendous attack, people being burned alive, innocent people at a concert being burned alive, shot up, hacked to death, raped, and killed, okay? In the style that even a pirate would be embarrassed to admit that they were involved with, by terrorists. Now you are paying protesters to go take those people supporting terrorism into our college campuses. The Democrats have absolutely no room to win an election, to even walk back their policies, because they've gone so full crazy that the American people are left shocked and dismayed that these are the two choices that we have. A Republican Party that has no balls, right? No courage, no internal fortitude. And then we have a liberal party which wants to decimate our children. That's the two options that we have. That's why the American people are dismayed and discouraged. But let me tell you something. There's hope. There's hope. And that hope comes in winning that presidency, winning that House, and winning the Senate majority. Right? And all of these local elections. So get out there. You better go elect fighters who are going to go and fight this battle the way that you had soldiers fighting in Afghanistan for 20 years before Biden gave up all of our equipment, $88 billion worth of equipment. The soldiers who were manning that equipment in Afghanistan, go elect those people who are willing to fight for their country, fight for their communities, still love this country. Go put them in office.
Yeah.
I don't know what we started talking about. I don't know what it was that we started. But I listen, I just have so little respect for the Democratic Party at this stage.
Yeah.
They're absolutely horrendous. They're demonic.
They've just gone so far to the left, so far. And just no reasoning with them, John. No reasoning. So Joe Biden is trying to get out on the interview circuit, John, and he appeared on the Howard Stern show to show his intimate side to voters. And Hillary Clinton helped make it happen. And watch this. You're about to throw up in your mouth.
The kind of leader I love, because we're lucky to have you in the Oval Office and serving as the father of the country, because if you're a good father to your family, which you are, I know you'd be a good father to the country. And I want to thank you for providing a calming influence, an organized administration post-COVID, getting that vaccine out.
All right. So, yeah, really, Howard Stern has evolved into Larry King at this point. He is just a joke. So Biden's interview with Stern is among his latest surprise appearances with notable talk show hosts, including an appearance on Late Night with Seth Meyers. That notable talk show host? I don't even know who Seth Meyers is. Who?
Stephanie Myers? Who's Stephanie Myers?
During his conversation with Stern, Biden shared how he previously thought about suicide after losing his wife and daughter. According to Stern's team, the interview wouldn't have happened without the help of Hillary Clinton. Believe me, there were a lot of people who were involved in helping this booking, but you know who was super helpful on this? Really, really helpful? Hillary Clinton. Stern's executive producer, Gary Delabate, said, and if you don't know who that is the guy he used to call
Booey.
Baba Booey. Yep.
He doesn't call himself Baba Booey anymore?
I don't know. Stern was surprised by the comment from his producer on Monday's show and said he didn't know that Clinton helped make it happen. Her people really let Biden's people know this was a good place to be. Howard Stern, he went on Sirius satellite radio, and that was a long time ago, probably about 20 years now. And I don't know. He's just evolved into something I don't recognize anymore.
He's just not worth the time anymore. There's nothing edgy about him, right? Before it was all debauchery and fun, and young people liked it because it was edgy. Well, today it's mainstream to be a total dirtbag, right? Yeah. And so that's what he is. He's a dirtbag that has become mainstream. There's nothing interesting about him. He's some just insecure loser now who's on the radio, and there's nothing interesting, there's nothing funny anymore, there's nothing edgy about it. There's the whole world is so just crass and ugly, of that whole Hollywood, that whole media entertainment world is just so gross that now he just looks like leftover matter on the wall. Yeah. And he's all used up, and there's no more charm involved with him.
No, there's not.
And there's nothing real, because once you sell your soul to the Democrats, forget it. You lose half of the people that even were worth listening to you.
Right? I guess they were thinking that the notoriety of Howard Stern would work in Biden's favor, but most people aren't going to hear this interview. Most people aren't going to see it.
I think a lot of people listen to him.
You have to pay to have Sirius satellite radio. I don't know anybody that has Sirius satellite radio. I don't have it.
I used to have satellite in my car so I can listen to baseball games. But I had a friend who always listened to Howard Stern, and he was a big fan. And even he stopped listening. He listens literally religiously. And he stopped listening to it, and he just said that he got boring. And what happens is that people don't want to hear your crap, right? Yeah. Like, it's not interesting. It's not interesting for people to be fake. What people are dying for right now, what people are looking forward to, is to hear somebody have an authentic conversation about true things going on. They don't want to hear a Democrat mouthpiece. They don't want to hear a PR piece from some guy. But you know what I thought was interesting about this? Forget Howard Stern. I don't care about him. But what's interesting about this story is that now we know Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama are Joe Biden's empty skin of a human, right? Of leadership. He's just like a bag of skin, right? Inside that skin is a negotiated conglomeration of Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama.
Yeah.
That's who's running the country, right? Those two groups, they hate each other too, right? Because it's two like prima donnas. They can't survive in each other's space. But they've negotiated something where they can run the country themselves. And inside that dead old skin of Biden, it's them pulling the strings.
Yeah. Yeah. I honestly believe that. I honestly believe it's Barack Obama. But after seeing them come together, the three presidents, and Hillary Clinton getting involved in this Howard Stern booking, yeah, absolutely. I think they all sit at a table, they make the decisions, and they put Biden out there to talk about them.
And it's what happens to even local elections. Yeah, it happens in local elections too. Like they do these negotiations. Okay, so here's one thing. We're going to talk about it tomorrow. That's one thing I want to talk about. But when you look at these seats, right? When you see a politician, and the politician assumes the seat, right? He wins. And then he hands the seat to a successor. He hands it. Here it is. Here's the successor. Then, sometimes there's something, depending on the process, depending on how you have to judge the process, right? Sometimes things are made in a less than transparent way. And when that happens, then, it's worth an investigation. It's worth, as a voter, it's worth looking into, hey, what is this my best option? Don't just take their word for it.
Yeah. Well, Joe Biden wasn't the only one who made appearances on talk shows. Kamala Harris made an appearance on a talk show, too.
Thinking that we really all need a tremendous hug in the world right now.
Yeah.
But in our country, we need you to be Mamala of the country.
Her reaction is so cringe. No, I know. If you should have left it playing longer. It gets more and more awkward as time goes on.
Yeah, Drew Barrymore.
Right? Drew Barrymore's looking at her like, I want you to cry. Will you please cry for us? Will you please cry? It helps my fake show and my fake whole persona. And Kamala, she's like, I know. And then there's no talking. It's just literally like that mumbling back and forth for 5 minutes.
Sitting so close to her, too.
It's
and just
so,
right in her face. It's just...
She's such a... God, Drew Barrymore, really... I think that brain... The AT took her brain when they went back to space. She's the same woman who got on the floor and was worshiping... What's the guy's name? What's the guy's name who wears a dress? He's the only guy in a dress who wears makeup that's not on Biden's administration team. No, RuPaul, I think, is the new Secretary of State for Biden. The Bud Light guy.
Oh, Dylan Mulvaney.
Yeah, so when Dylan came on to her show, remember that? You're the one that picked that clip.
That's right.
So she got on her knees and was like, oh, we worship you for being
You have to remember that Drew Barrymore grew up in Hollywood. Her family was in Hollywood.
She's basically a sex trafficked
back
child.
in the golden age of movies. So, her grandfather, I guess, was a movie actor. And
actor, producer, something, or some big
he
shot.
was an actor. He was in a movie.
Barrymore, yeah.
A couple of movies, including the original Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So, no wonder why she's screwed up. Anyway, Boy Scouts have gone woke, John. They are making this big change to be more inclusive. And what is that? A rebranding that will go into effect next year, and they will become known as the Scouting of America, or Scouting America.
So I heard, this is awesome. I was in a Twitter space recently, and they were talking about this particular issue, and they were saying that there were multiple views, right? And this was a conservative space, so this is just conservatives talking. One of them was saying that this is real dumb move. I think that was the knee-jerk reaction, right? It's like, oh, these guys went woke, and this sucks, and why do this? Then somebody else said, well, who cares? You literally have you have men playing sports against girls. Right? And this is not your priority because we have to, let's worry about the real issues. This is not a big deal because this just makes things easier for parents to take their kids to the same events, right? So let the boys go to the boys thing, let the girls go to the same thing, and it's easier on parents and so on and so forth. That's what they were saying, which I thought was a good point. When it's done out of convenient for the parent or for a community or society, okay, right? Yeah. And then somebody else was saying, yeah, but there's a time and a place. So what this does is it opens up a competition. Now some other organization can now come in and say, okay, well, they're no longer Boy Scouts. We're still Boy Scouts. Come over here. We're an organization that doesn't allow pedophilia. We don't allow your kids to be abused. We don't, because they were being sued into the ground essentially, and then at the same time, people were just not as attracted to the activity of scouting the way that they used to be. So, so they're a failing agency. They were trying to make their organization survive. So I don't know. I can see all parts of that. Listen, though, there is a time and a place for men and women, boys and girls to be separate, right? Boys being mentored by men is an important aspect of growing up as a man and knowing how to behave like a man and understanding your responsibilities as a man. In my daughter's school, the boys open the doors, right? And they hold those doors open for girls. Yeah. That's something that they teach in the school. Like in the school, they're like conscious of it, right? And that's great. That is great. And if you went to the Boy Scouts today, you wouldn't get that. What you would get is, I'm not. Never mind. I don't know. I'm not gonna say. I was about to go too far, but I'm not gonna do it.
Don't do that, John.
I'm not gonna go too far. I'm just saying that. Listen, there's a time and a place for everything, and it's okay for boys and girls to be separated. And the people who don't believe that. The people who don't believe that and are going to say, oh, no, it's just that's, whatever, those are the same people proposing that boys can play against girls, right? So the people who don't want any separation want no separation when it comes to girls' sports. So make up your mind already.
In my mind, Boy Scouts is there, just like you said, to help young men become men and learn how to do things that men do. Same thing for Girl Scouts, Same things. You're learning about nature and stuff like that, but you're learning how to become a lady. Woman or a lady, But this isn't, the convenience.
And they're not the same, no matter how much Democrats try to convince you that we're the same.
Not. The convenience that you talked about, John, that's not why Boy Scouts of America did this.
Right.
So, the rebranding will go into effect on February 8th of 2025, which is the organization's 115th anniversary. That's when it will become known as Scouting America. They said the name change aims to make everyone feel welcome, while the move is also being seen as an attempt to move on from bankruptcy following a flood of sexual abuse claims. Last year, BSA agreed to pay $2.46 billion to settle claims by some 82,000 former Boy Scouts who said they had been sexually abused by BSA officials and volunteers.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I got an idea, right? If you're an organization that messes with kids, don't mess with the kids.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if you're going to be an organization that is trying to provide a service or take care of kids, then you better be doing a good job. And when somebody does something like this, make sure that they go to jail right away. Right?
I always believe that these chapters should be led by parents of the kids that are in these groups. And
I think they are in most cases.
But it should be multiple of them.
Yeah.
Making sure that none of these things occur. I mean, if it's just one that's running it or two or whatever, and they should never be left alone one-on-one with these kids.
Who leaves their... Okay, so this is a timing thing, right? Because like in the 70s, 80s, people were left alone. You sent your kids out after school, and then you expected them to come back during dark, when it got dark, right? So you can't even do that today.
No.
Right? It's a whole different world. And it's too bad because I think that...
Tragically, yeah.
It is tragic because we had a far, far, far better childhood, I think, than modern day kids.
Absolutely. All right, John. So before we go across the nation, we have this important message from President Trump.
You get that letter, your debt's going to be forgiven.
I've heard gas the Jews, that we should be the next targets of Hamas and their terrorist brigades.
Out with student debt.
One of them taunted me by waving a Palestinian flag in my face and jabbed me in the eye.
Supreme Court ruled against, but I still got 136 million people's debt relieved. Some of you are getting notices right now. You're going to get another student cut. And this time you're going to not have any doubt about who said it to you. It's going to have my name on it, Biden. I will never stop to deliver student debt relief from hardworking Americans. Despite the Supreme Court and our Republican friends trying to block us, they haven't stopped me from pursuing an alternative path to relieve the crushing burden of student debt.
Wow, yeah, very powerful ad from President Trump, right to the point.
I mean, really, all these ads are just showing that this is it's a non-stop, one mistake after another. It's one, it's just one terrible decision after another. Everything he touches, all right? We use this phrase a lot here. Everything he touches turns to a San Francisco sidewalk, right? It's just, it doesn't stop. And how are you so bad at your job? It's like if you were a major league pitcher and you threw ball after ball after ball and you just walked the bases loaded and then walked them around. Oh, how long do they leave you in? And that's the choice that America has right now. The pitcher has walked the bases loaded, walked it all around. Now you have like the pitcher walking the pitcher all the way to the first, all the way around the bases. He doesn't have one single victory. Biden doesn't have a single victory, not a single victory.
Not one.
You know, I mean, some people might say that this student loan thing, that it's a victory for young kids, but young kids polling, right? Polling young people in that 20 to 18 demographic, that 20-something demographic, it's increasing with Trump. So how is it you've given them billions of dollars and they're still leaving you? Hispanics, right? After he called Hispanics tacos, I don't know what Hispanic would be dumb enough to vote for Joe Biden. There's nobody more racist than these liberal elitists. I don't know how you can be a Hispanic and vote for somebody who calls you a taco. No. Right? But nonetheless, Hispanics, it's increasing for Trump. Right? The black vote, increasing for Trump. Asians, increasing for Trump. White people, increasing for Trump. The only part where she shows any strength at all is with his suburban women, and he's also losing that vote now. Yep. He's going to be losing that vote soon. Because everything that he touches. But watch the race be close. Let's see how many millions of votes Joe Biden gets after the whole world has abandoned him.
Do not feel comfortable to stay home in this election. You need to get out
absolutely
and you need to vote.
Absolutely do not.
All right, so Georgia senators, John, are finding little oversight on how Fanny Willis spends taxpayer dollars. They're saying it's like the wild, wild west. Fulton County officials testified that District Attorney Fanny Willis has wide discretion over her $36.6 million amid allegations she misused public funds.
I mean, she gave what, almost $700,000 to her boyfriend?
Yeah.
Her ex-boyfriend, air quotes.
Yeah.
Right? Even though they were seen at a party recently, right? They were seen at some club or something together.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, look, they're doing the Fanny. Okay?
He's doing the Fanny.
He's doing the Fanny, and he's getting paid gigantic amounts of money to prosecute a case that he is, at least on paper, I don't know, maybe some intangibles she sees in him that nobody else gets to see, but he is on paper not qualified to do this case.
No, he's not.
Right?
He's not.
Aside from having he's taken the bar and passed the bar. That's it. So it's very suspicious, and nobody's even interested in making sure that they rein in or they oversee what she's doing.
No, not at all.
Georgia's just lost.
Yeah, there's a lot of RINOs in Georgia, and we're going to talk a lot about that tonight. But State Senator Bill Cowsert, a Republican representing Athens and chairman of the committee, questioned Fulton County Commissioner Rob Pitts and Fulton County Chief Financial Officer Sharon Whitmore about how the DA's office receives and spends its funds. The witnesses testified that Willis has broad discretion over those taxpayer dollars, including whether to hire a special prosecutor and how much they should be paid. So this is sounding to me kind of like the Wild West. Very little control from Fulton County over a $36 million budget. Cowsert said after asking several questions about the county budget process. You don't know how much of that is spent on professional services, who is hired, how much they're paid per hour, what their total compensation is. Yet you're being asked to provide $36.6 million a year that you know encompasses a number of those types of independent contractors that you know you're funding with no oversight or control, right? This is what he questioned Whitmore at one point. Pitts testified that Willis has wide discretion over how to spend the funds appropriated for the district attorney's office and said she does not have to get any pre-approval for hiring an independent special counsel to assist with her activities. So, like you said, John, there are lots of problems in Georgia, and this highlights just one of them.
Yeah. I mean, Georgia is just lost. It's lost. It's a shame. You know, Georgia used to be a dependable red state, and now it's a dependable mess. Yeah. And it's a shame to see it devolve into what it's devolved into.
Absolutely.
And you can't blame Fulton County.
No.
Right? I mean, you can't blame Fulton County. This is a RINO problem.
Yep. And as we're going to talk about, and I said we're going to go into that a little bit more throughout the show, here's another story. Jeff Duncan is endorsing Joe Biden, says Trump has no moral compass. And if you don't know who Jeff Duncan is, well, here he is. He is the former lieutenant governor of Georgia. He said on Monday that he will endorse President Biden and that his fellow Republicans should back Biden's reelection bid instead of voting for former President Trump. This November, I am voting for a decent person I disagree with on policy over a criminal defendant without a moral compass, he wrote. Duncan said it's disappointing to see Republicans fall in line behind Trump and added that the GOP will never rebuild until we move on from the Trump era, leaving conservative but not angry Republicans like me no choice but to pull the lever for Biden. You know what? That is completely wrong, John. It says, but not angry. He is absolutely angry. Yeah. He has Trump derangement syndrome. If you're going to pull the lever for Biden, you definitely have TDS, and you are no Republican. You are a complete total RINO.
This guy's the worst kind of actor. This is really bad what he's doing. He's proving who he is, though, and they're trying to save their own skin. That's the bottom line. They know that they will all be gone. They'll all be gone. And they survived this last election cycle, but they don't want any investigations into their elections. No. They don't want a review of any type or any sort. They have to survive Trump. That's what they're trying to do. And that's why all these RINOs are in power. And we have them here in Florida, too. We have the same situation in Florida, too. Yeah. And we're kind of in the same struggle. It's just that DeSantis is not a RINO, right? So DeSantis kind of fought against these RINOs. So at least our governor's not like a Kemp guy. But we do have them here too. And we just have to do our best as citizens to vote for the people who will do the right thing.
Absolutely. And, John, we're going to talk a little bit more tomorrow night on the Florida show about our Republican Party of Florida and the moves they're pulling right now, which are disgusting to me. I find it horrible what they're trying to do, but we'll talk more about that tomorrow night.
I mean, there's so much going on throughout the state here. There's a war going on inside the Republican Party. And I can't be convinced that this is not an intentional war that's being caused, all this chaos being caused so that we lose the elections. Yep. Because the Republicans don't want MAGA to come in and take over, even though it's like that's pushing, that's where the momentum is, and so on, and everybody else is pushing. So you have a group, and I hate to say this, we're going to talk about it tomorrow in depth, but you know what, I'll just leave it for tomorrow. Tomorrow, we watch the Unsanctioned Florida show tomorrow. It is going to be an explosive show. We're going to talk about some seriously controversial stuff. That 11th commandment is going to go out the window tomorrow night. So make sure that you stick with us tomorrow night.
Yeah, absolutely. So continuing on with RINOs, and, you know, I said we were going to talk about it. This emanates out of Georgia, too, or at least one of these RINOs. But it's a group of Republicans, that's what they call themselves, has united to defend the legitimacy of U.S. elections and those who run them. Now, this is a very interesting story, John. It required me to do some digging. This story was published to Associated Press. So no matter where you read this story, and you'll see it,
it's very interesting,
on every news website, you'll see it everywhere. It's read the same way. So it all starts out exactly the same way. The whole composition is exactly the same. So it says, Atlanta, it was election day last November, and one of Georgia's top election officials saw that reports of a voting machine problem in an eastern Pennsylvania county were gaining traction online. So this required Mr. Sterling, the chief operating officer for the Georgia Secretary of State's office, is part of an effort begun after the last presidential election that seeks to bring together Republican officials who are willing to defend the country's election systems and the people who run them. They want officials to reinforce the message that elections are secure and accurate, an approach they say is especially important as the country heads toward another divisive presidential contest. The group has held meetings in several states, with more planned before the November 5th election. Now, the effort, which began about 18 months ago, is coordinated by the SNF Agora Institute at Johns Hopkins University and the center-right think tank R Street Institute. They call themselves center-right. We're going to talk about that in a minute here. The goal has been to start conversations about trust in elections, primarily among conservative officials, and to develop a set of principles to accomplish that. Now, I started thinking about this, and I was like, Johns Hopkins University, okay, whatever, but R Street Institute, what is that? What is R Street Institute? It sounds like a lobbying group. Well, yeah, absolutely it is. So I went to this website. It's called Influence Watch, and this is a great place where you can search up on and find information on these entities. So R Street Institute, right? The R Street Institute is a public policy think tank based in Washington, D.C. that was spun off from the right of center and Chicago-based Heartland Institute in 2012. I didn't know there was anything right of center based in Chicago. But R Street's president and co-founder, Eli Lehrer, was formerly the head of the Heartland affiliate in Washington, D.C. As of 2018, R Street's budget was $10.5 million, and Lehrer was paid a total compensation of $262,000. All right, some basic information right there about R Street Institute. So then you read on further and you see stuff like this. R Street promotes a generally free market policy agenda on most issues, such as trade and technology. However, R Street departs from most free market policy organizations by supporting the implementation of a carbon tax and promoting the expansion of left-leaning labor union-affiliated worker centers. On March 24th of 2020, the Washington Times published an op-ed by Eli Lehrer and MSNBC political analyst and former Republican Party chair Michael Steele, urging conservatives to support broadening the use of mail-in absentee ballots for elections, suggesting the United States should switch to a universal vote-by-mail policy.
No thanks.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Left-leaning foundations such as the William and Flora Hewlett Foundation, the Energy Foundation, and the Foundation to Promote Open Society provided 26% of R Street's total contribution and grants revenues between 2012 and 2017, and 71% of the organization's total foundation support during that period. Now, if Foundation to Promote Open Society sounds like something you you've heard before, sounds familiar to you. This is who Open Society Foundation is. The Open Society Foundation is founded by George Soros. Yeah.
No thanks.
So these are not Republicans. These are RINOs. If you're getting your money from George Soros, you're no good. Simple as that.
I mean, come on. Be for real. Really? I mean, come on. Why is... This is what we're going to be talking about tomorrow night in terms of the Florida party, right? Because these people, they're trying to deceive Republicans. That's the whole gig. They're getting paid huge money to deceive Republicans. That is the gig. There's nothing going on. And this is why, these people like John Boehner, what's the other guy? Paul Ryan, no. You know, and now apparently even Mike Johnson, Mitt Romney, McCain, the eye patch McCain, right? I mean, all these guys, their job is just to deceive Republicans. It's like that's why they're there. No. I mean, there was a guy from the CIA running for president recently who was telling you, "Hey, I'm running to basically disassociate the Republican Party from Republican ideals." Yeah. I mean, it's crazy that the Republicans are falling for it, right? And Nikki Haley, I mean, Nikki Haley, Jesus, what she was running, she was basically running to deceive the Republican Party. We don't want Americans in general, Democrats and Republicans, do not want to go back to business as usual. Yeah. And we should never go back to business as usual. Not in Florida, not in any state, not anywhere in our country. Back to business as usual is how we ended up masked and vaccines by our own government. Yeah. That's not what we want. We don't want a government that's going to shut us down, prevent us from going to our churches, attacking us, fighting with parents who go to school board meetings, sicking the FBI on people who had divergent beliefs from what the government wants you to believe. That's all unacceptable. We're not going to go back there. Yeah. Right? We're not going to go back there.
I mean, we all know how George Soros is funding these riots across America. He funded, Black Lives Matter. He funded the Occupy movement. He's funding these Palestinian uprisings across college campuses. And he's also funding these people who are trying to tell you that the elections are safe and secure. Think about it. Just think about it.
Yeah, forget it. There's no way.
No.
There's no way.
So... Finally, John, a war veteran in a crucial battleground race expands campaign, sets sights firmly on a vulnerable Democrat. Former U.S. Army Captain Sam Brown spoke with Fox News Digital after opening a new campaign headquarters. And if you know Sam Brown's backstory, you know it, John, right?
Yeah, he's a hero who got injured. I think it was in Afghanistan. Obviously, tough injury. And now he's, he fought for his country. He's a patriot, and he wants to come back and continue to serve his country. Obviously, that's something that I can relate to. And he wants to take out a Dem in a battleground state, Nevada. And I hope and pray that he wins.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Republicans are hoping he does too.
You got to wonder, though. You got to wonder, what about Eye Patch McCain, Mitt Romney? Do they really want him to win? Mitt Romney, I think that if we got the 51 votes, Mitt Romney would leave the party. Mitt Romney's not going to survive. First of all, let me just say that, right? He's already leaving the Senate. Why is he leaving the Senate? Because he's going to get decimated in a primary. So he's leaving instead.
The cat's out the bag. Everybody knows that he's a RINO at this point. No one trusts him. No one trusts him.
But if what he's going to do is switch parties before he leaves, so that he can make some things happen for the Democrats.
Yeah.
I sounded like John Fetterman there for a second.
Sometimes I do on the show too, because I get tripped up.
I was pulling up. There's a reason for it though. I didn't have a lobotomy. I'm actually looking at the Real Clear Politics information on that race, and it is a toss-up race. So you have this is Rosin's +7 right now with Real Clear Politics. The last poll.
Wow. All right. So. They're hoping that he can oust Jackie Rosin and flip the Silver State red. That's Nevada.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping he can too.
Yeah, I'm hoping he can too.
National
It's been up
Republicans-
and down, so it's been
Yeah.
up and down. There's movement in this, right? So I'll just say this: a long time ago, right, way back in a little while, it was more. So it's that lead is decreasing. Surely, just over a month, it has it's getting closer and closer. So we need to be paying attention to it.
Awesome. Well, the Republicans remain optimistic about their chances to win control of the Senate in November, with a number of states, including Nevada, Arizona, Montana, West Virginia, Ohio, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Maryland taking the center stage, John. And the GOP views Brown as its best chance to flip Nevada, a state where it struggled in recent election cycles. In 2022, Republican Senate nominee Adam Lexall came within 8,000 votes of winning against a Democratic incumbent. Yeah.
8,000 votes. That's nuts.
Yeah.
In a Senate race. I don't know how many people live in Nevada, but that's.
Yeah, Nevada has some nice qualities. I mean.
No, I mean they got a couple of good restaurants, right?
Yeah.
And you can gamble there.
Yeah.
But
they've got Area 51 there.
Oh yeah, that's right, Area 51.
Yeah.
That's where Nancy Pelosi fell out of her spaceship.
That's where they took Biden. That's why he's all messed up now.
They're peeling their skins away to display their reptilian nature.
Yeah, remember V?
Yes, that's how I always
Great.
refer to that show. Here's the thing: Tom and I are the same age, right? I think I'm like maybe a couple months older than you.
Yeah.
Something like that.
My birthday is at the end of this month.
Okay, mine's in February, so yeah, I'm a couple months older than you, but we're the same age, so we always have the same TV references. I don't know if you out there, you guys remember that show V? I loved that show as a kid. I guess you did too, right?
Yeah.
And it was basically, remember those aliens, and they would rip their skins away, and they'd have a
Lizards,
reptilian.
yeah.
So that's those are politicians right there.
They were harvesting humans to eat them for dinner. It was great.
Yeah.
It's great.
Man, what a disappointment they'd be with Biden. It's like spoiled meat right there. He's more likely reptilian than he is a meal.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, John, so we did go a little bit long. We went 1 hour and 14 minutes, but that is it. That's the show.
All right. Awesome. Well, thank you very much. Thank you for watching. I'm, of course, right now in trouble with Facebook again. So you know what the drill is. Please like
Big
and share.
surprise.
Big surprise. I know. I got 8 days. Or 9. I think it was 15 days originally, so that's why I didn't share. So if you didn't get to share, please share, like, so that you can, so that people can see the show who I would have shared to normally.
Absolutely.
Thank you. God bless you. On behalf of me, School Board Member John Arguello, my great friend, Citizen Tom Lord. We'll see you tomorrow for
night.
a bombshell show.
Explosive.
Unsanctioned Florida.
Yeah.